Thank you. And so now we can start our today's meeting. This is the first Peace Forum in 2024. Today, before we start our meeting, I would like to invite our president of Servas International, Radha, to say some words. Radha, please.
Good morning from New York. And whatever the time is, wherever you are. Thank you for coming to this meeting. I'm going to share a few prepared remarks, and I've been told to keep it 3 to 5 minutes, and I'm going to keep it to 3 to 5 minutes. All right, let me share my screen. All right, on behalf of EXCO, Servas International Executive Committee, it's my pleasure to extend a warm welcome to all of you to the first Peace Forum in 2024. And I want to thank the organizers, May and Francisco, who have been working tirelessly to organize many such events, which are, I see, very well received, and I think go to the very essence of Servas. Thank you all for being here. I want to stress about the foundation values of Servas. I know the theme of this meeting, and I think it fits in right with our foundation values, which is equal rights for all human beings. And so I think it's really important that we stress on the rights of women, it's rights of all human beings based on friendship, hospitality, and diversity. And in 2022, we also added care for the planet in an ecologically sustainable way. And I think those are our principal missions. I know that next month, we are going to have the CSW, the Commission on Status of Women in New York, and I'm probably going to meet with a number of you when you are here. And I thought I would say a few words about how Servas supports and encourages and works really hard for us to achieve these goals. As you know, the theme of CSW 68 is accelerating the achievement. Sort of, it seems to me that they seem to have thought that we have achieved and now we can accelerate the achievement. I'm not yet sure we have fully achieved. There is more work to do, but I know that for us to achieve and accelerate gender equality and empowerment of all women, that is really, really important for Servas. If you look at the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it started with equal rights for men and women, and we in Servas fully incorporated it. We agreed that this is something that we are really believe in, and we included that in our foundation, in our statutes, because we believe women's rights are human rights too. And when the UN came up with this 30 sustainable goals, and number 5 is gender equality, and we chose a few of those because you can't do all 30. We chose a few of those to concentrate on, and gender equality is something that we have really, really worked on as an organization. It's really, really important to us. And I'm so glad that you are all here to continue with the work that we are trying to do. One of the things that I have noticed personally in the few meetings that I have been to in the last year is that there have been more than 50% participation by women in those meetings. And that is really remarkable and wonderful. I really hope we continue to maintain that a balance, at least within our organization, and try to push it out so that more and more people can do it. We always believe that if you educate a woman, you educate a family, and it's a best investment that you can have. And I know that CSW works really hard to push this concept and try to make sure that funds are available so that this goal is achieved. And Servas fully supports these goals. From the society's perspective, we know that when women prosper, societies prosper, and gender equal societies are richer societies in all sense of the word, and gender equal economies perform better according to all research. And we feel that we should therefore, be part of this particular movement. Therefore, in 2018, for example, when we had our meeting, I don't know, somebody else is sharing the screen with me. Please stop doodling on the screen. Thank you. Uh, uh, in 2018, when SI committed to that in all of our work, in all of our committees, we will try to bring in a gender balance. Doesn't always work, but it is a good goal to have. And we try very, very hard in order to achieve that. And I think I'm running short of time, so because I have only 5 minutes. So I'm going to stop by showing this particular sculpture that I've seen at Yale. For me, it was a really very important as something that educated me. I don't know how many of you have seen this. This is Maya Lin's sculpture, which was created sometime, I think, in the 80s. If you look carefully at the sculpture, there is water flowing and it's just a table. But if you look very closely at the sculpture, there are a bunch of numbers in the sculpture. And you can see that it's in the form of a spiral. What this number shows is the number of women who were there in Yale right from the beginning. And if you look closely enough on the picture on the left, in the beginning, there was zero. And then if you look a little more carefully, you can see around 1920, there were about 218 women in Yale. And then you can see as it spirals and it comes to an end, it actually came to an end in 1973. Why? Because in 1973, for the first time, the number of women were equal to the number of men in Yale. And they stopped doing it after 1973 because after 1973, the number of women has always been equal to or more than the number of women and the number of men in Yale. Let's hope something like this happens everywhere and let Servas be a part of it. Please keep up the good work. Thank you all for all that you do. Thank you for being members of Servas.
Wow, thank you, Radha. Radha always bring very touched story to us. So now we will start our meeting, and today our presentation will lead by Helga. It's our UN representative, and also Paige and Kent. So let's have our UN teams to have today's presentation. Helga, please.
Thank you very much. And thank you for organizing this. I think you've done a great job bringing all these people together. And I hope that in the sense of the Servas principles, we can participate a little bit in world peace, which at the moment is certainly not there. Well, it will be me presenting the theme of women and poverty first. Then Kent and Paige will speak and present what it has got to do with CSW and with Servas. So let me start my presentation. I have got most of the time. Nevertheless, I hope I keep the time. And you have the page. This topic of Servas have got to do. And pass on now to, is it Kent or Paige who will speak next?
I think it's me. Hello. Helga, bravo. Thank you so much for making such strides to share with us such a traveling to Bangladesh as well other parts of the world, and then sharing that with us so we can see the situations in different countries. So bravo, and thank you so much for sharing. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Paige Lacombe. I am so glad to be here today and see some familiar faces. Hello to Jean. Hello to Helga again. I see some other women here that have attended CSW, which we're going to talk about today. I see Rachel and Natalie and Lori. And I also see a lot of faces I haven't met. But I'm really grateful to be here. So a little bit about myself. I've been in Servas for the last, I don't know, 8 years, but I've been involved pretty big. I started off as the Peace Secretary for US Servas, and 3 months later, we went to the first Sakoga and became the International Peace Secretary. But I've been so impressed with the work that May and Francisco have done, and having a peace forum like this. I'm just so excited and so proud to be part of this organization that promotes peace. So today I'm just going to talk really briefly about our work that we've been doing as a peace organization over the last 5 or 6 years, especially as Radha spoke about making Servos more gender inclusive in terms of all of our committees, taking that into consideration. Do we have, equal representation in our committees and our boards? So I'm really proud of the work that we've done with Servos. So I'm going to just share screen and just talk a little bit about this CSW, because you might not know what it's about, or maybe you have heard of it. So let me just do this really quickly, and one moment here. All right, so share screen. So I hope you can see, can you see the slide? Okay, good. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about Service International Representatives, the United Nations, and how we as Servos representatives have attended the United Nations. CSW is in March every year. We've been going since 2019. This was the first group that attended this conference, which lasts for 2 weeks. And just to be clear, what it is it's an opportunity for women women from around the world, from different nations, to come to the United Nations and report on the status of women in their country and the situation of different organizations, and an opportunity to grow voices and to share. So this is a very unique opportunity for Servos men and women to go and talk about gender rights. And as a peace organization, we represent nations around the world. So it's really important that we also have diversity attending this conference. And so, as you can see, this first conference, we have our National Secretary from Australia, Lauren, who's on the far right. I was representing the US. Fidel was from Rwanda. And we have Zara from Iran. And then this, by the way, is my daughter, who is a youth representing the US. So I want to ask you a question. And here's my daughter and I traveling to India. I want you to think about a young woman in your life. It could even be yourself, or it could be a daughter, like I'm thinking of my daughter, or it could be a niece or a grandchild or a mother, a young mother. I want you to think of one person in your life who's female. And I want you to start thinking about the future with me. What do we want to see the world look like for the future generations? And then I want to talk to you a little bit about thinking about the past. I do a lot now that I've reached kind of a middle age of my life. I think a lot about where I am and who came before me. And when I think about who came before me, women that came before me, and specifically is, well, first of all, I want to think about the future. What opportunities does she have in her future? Are they the same opportunities that you had? And what is it like? What is it like different from the past? What about your mother or your grandmother? So when I think about my life, I think a lot about how the women that came before me had to really struggle to have a voice. And I think about myself even growing a voice, as whereas my daughter has different opportunities. So I want you just to think about that in the context of these are people in our own lives, and we want the best and the most opportunities for our families, but we also want to see other people to have opportunities. So a little bit about myself, I was a soccer player, and I could have played in the Olympics. But when I went to college, there was no women's soccer. So there was no place for me to play and to compete at the higher levels. And if you look here, this is one of my heroes. Her name is Mia Hamm. And I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but she was one of the ones that I consider a trailblazer in soccer. And I actually had the opportunity to see her play, and the U.S. women won the World Cup that year. She etched her name in history by scoring a staggering 158 international goals. Women's sports is becoming more and more popular around the world, and this is giving women an opportunity to compete in different countries, World Cups. And in the US, they've made laws, and this is key. They've made laws that make it so that women have equal opportunities at the universities. Unfortunately, this came after my experience at a university. But the thing about sports, and if you make it equal for all women to participate in sports, it's a great opportunity for girls to have to feel stronger about who they are in the world. And then I also put someone else who I kind of consider a real trailblazer, and we're going to talk a little bit about government and women leaders in government. But this is Jacinda Ardern, who was the Prime Minister of New Zealand. In 2017, she became the leader of New Zealand's Labour Party. And then in October 2017, at the age of 37, she became the country's youngest prime minister in more than 150 years. So in many countries around the world, we are seeing governments take into consideration, and people are voting in women more and more, but it's not equal to men. In fact, in Europe, I think about 25% of governments have some gender parity, but around the world, it's much, much less percentage, more like, I'm going to show you a map later, which shows you just how much governments have gender parity. But she was really praised in 2020 because she led New Zealand's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. It's estimated her government actions perhaps saved as many as 80,000 lives. So also women in government can make great impacts on how countries respond to catastrophes, whether it be natural catastrophes, war, or other unforeseen issues. And a little bit we'll talk about Turkey and their earthquake. So I want to show you, I want to talk a little bit about government because Servas International is not a political organization. We are promoters of peace, but our governments do impact us and we may not believe in the same policies that our presidents do or our prime ministers. But what's really important and what you tend to hear at the conference is women talking over and over again how they'll make progress for women's rights in their country, and laws will be changed. And then women will gain rights in education, or they might gain more rights in equal opportunities to jobs, or they might gain more equal pay as men. But sometimes a new government will come in, like what we saw in Afghanistan, and completely take away women's rights. Where in Afghanistan, you had women working in the government, all of a sudden now cannot even hold a job, and their daughters and their nieces and their families, women can't, children, young girls can't even go to school. Or in other situations in other countries where the government little by little whittles away at women's hard-earned rights in many countries. I know in places like Russia, they've rolled back. It's now okay to beat your wife or to have violence against women. And I know in the U.S., there's been a lot about reproductive rights and the rights for women to have access to healthcare and abortion. So I want to talk a little bit about Rwanda. And I don't know if you know the situation in Rwanda, but there was a genocide, and what came out of the genocide actually is a powerful message for others around the world. During the genocide, women were disproportionately affected, and this magnified the deep inequalities in Rwandan society. So after the genocide, the majority of the survivors were women, and what came out of that is now that Rwanda is considered one of the number one for gender equality in Africa, and number 4 or 5 or 6 for gender equality in government in the entire world. To do that, they created a whole wing of their government called the Commission for Women. And they do quotas, and they make sure that women have full access to all of the opportunities to make new laws that protect women. So they've really shown us that out of war could come some significant changes that make the world a more humane place for women. There is a short YouTube video here, but I think because of time, I'm going to continue on. But I do encourage you to look into Rwanda if you ever get an opportunity. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. Back to Servas and, talking about the problems of the world. And, we have, of course, many, many problems around the world: loss of human rights, lack of education and jobs for girls and women, violence, oppression. Women are treated as property or second-class citizens. And this can all happen through change in government, war, or natural disasters. So last year, we attended the conference, Commission on the Status of Women, and we have had the opportunity, and really with the help of Julie Cormack and organizing us, we had this opportunity to present a panel at the Commission of the Status of Women in session 67. And what was discussed there was the situation in Turkey with the earthquake that had happened. And Gulson was our main speaker, and we made a recording of this. If you ever want to go back and hear this fabulous presentation, and now we have a permanent peace school in Turkey because of the work that they've done in Turkey and the years and years that they've put into it. Now Servas is focusing on donations to help that continue. And we also had Katiera from Afghanistan to hear her voice, and also Nazia Nori from Afghanistan. So we heard a panel, and also they presented at the United Nations. So the United Nations was, this is a very important forum for young people and for all Servos members to grow a voice and be heard on the international scale. So now I'm excited to tell you also that we will hear more about the panels, which we are going to be doing 3 this year at the United Nations. And soon you'll hear more about that when we hear from Kent. Why our voices matter. So this is in India. So we need to have more power behind our voices. And the power comes in women speaking up, and women from different nations speaking up, and really fighting within your own country, knowing what the issues are in your country, and then being able to speak up when you see injustices. And it grows. A small group of women speaking up on gender issues can grow. Women do great, strength in numbers. I'm really proud to say Servos has grown in strength in numbers with growing our voices in terms of gender parity. And this is in the US. This is a group in Portugal. We were, and this is in Santiago, Chile. And when you see this equal sign, it has to do with equal representation in government. And you can see here's our friend Alvany, and here I am speaking to women in Santiago, Chile. And here we are again at the United Nations at the conference, CSW. You can see there's hundreds of women there sharing their voices to promote gender equality in government and in the workforce and in all bodies of equal representation. And I just wanted to kind of end here, but I just wanted to point out that women are not alone. We have partners. Men have the opportunity to be our partners and also have a voice for gender equality. So I wanted to acknowledge and appreciate the efforts of our partners. We have Francisco, who has always supported our work at the CSW, and also Kent, who's worked so hard this year to really continue our efforts at the United Nations. And we also have Fidel, who spoke about how men could partner with women to get, and he's from Rwanda. So, and then I also want to just acknowledge May coming on as a peace secretary with Francisco in a partnership that has made it such a powerful strength to attend this conference. So thank you. And I'm going to stop share, but I'm going to add one more thing to the chat, if you're okay with that. I just wanted to add, and I could see there's a few questions, so I want to answer those questions. But in the chat, I want to just give you, it's a map of the countries that are doing the best for gender parity and gender equality, and also the countries that maybe are the worst in terms of women's rights. So I'm just going to share that in the chat with you. Whoops, my chat's lost. Just 1 second. Let me find it again. And I will take questions. So I see Claudia from Israel. If you could just feel free to, and I'll add this to the chat. But yes, thank you everyone for your time. Claudia, can you unchat or unmute?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can hear you. I just want to take the opportunity to thank Chris Ann, who helped me create a petition to stop rape and sexual violence as weapons of war. She mentioned Ukraine and Israel because of October 7, and I continue to promote this petition and ask everyone to sign it. The petition is for the UN Women, and we have already 2/3 of the aim of the objective that we wanted to have the signatures. So if possible, I don't know how to do it. I will write it maybe on chat, how you can, how all of you can sign this petition against sexual violence during war as a weapon of war. Thank you.
Thank you,
Claudia.
Claudia. Put it in the chat, and if anyone else also has a course, please put it in the chat because there will also be opportunity to speak in small groups where you can mention it. But I think we would now listen to Kent. Before you start, I would really like to appreciate, Paige, what you said, and it's another. Have also been to some of the countries that you have mentioned. And this is what I can only recommend to everyone here. Whenever you travel with SEVAS, ask the people that are your host to show you whatever you're interested in, to show you poverty, to show you women, to show you their work, the peace work that is done there. Not only go and see the sites. And I think that is where this hospitality program of SEVAS can live its best. And it's at a personal level, and it's really impressive. It came to my mind, Paige, because you mentioned Rwanda. I was there and I saw the work that Fidel is doing there. You mentioned some other countries. And so please, just every one of us, when we are traveling, ask these people what they personally do, what they personally can show you to understand the world and what keeps us together. But before I do not want to speak too long.
Just letting you know, Rada had his hand up. If I could just answer or have him just speak briefly, and then we could get to Kent. Thank you. And thank you again, everybody. I really appreciated your support. Thank you. We're one.
Thank you, Paige. Just a couple of quick comments. The two presentations have been fantastic so far. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Helga. Thank you, Paige. So informative. Unfortunately, I have to leave, but I'm looking forward to watching the video later and catch up with the rest of the presentations. I had a couple of observations. One, I was reminded of a really nice story that I got from my good friend Javier, who sent out a list of let's feel good stuff to all of us. One of the story, this is in the Latin American meeting WhatsApp group. One of the nice stories he mentioned was about Malawi, which now has a woman as a leader. And she essentially canceled a lot of these child marriages and sent those girls back to school. which really, I hope it's true, but it really sounded fantastic. What it tells me is that we really need many more women leaders. We just don't have enough. The second thing I want to point out is it's a lot of talk about global north and global south. It's not just a global north, global south problem. There is a serious problem in my country. I know I live in America with accepting women as leaders. And it's really sad. And right now, women's rights are being attacked very, very significantly. Fortunately, there is a big fight, and in every single fight, the women have won. Whenever there has been a decision on women's rights, so I'm really hopeful that it's what it tells me is that we have to stay vigilant. We can't simply say, we have achieved this. So we have to keep working and hope that we make progress. And the work that Servas can do is really very important. And finally, before I leave, I want to thank Kent, with whom I work, who has worked a lot in these last few months, and who has made me work a lot as a result to ensure that we can have a very successful CSW. I'm really looking forward to a wonderful CSW. And I want to thank Paige, who's been instrumental in our doing this work for quite some time, and with whom I worked quite a bit last year too. And finally, I want to thank Jean, who introduced me to all of this. Thank you, Jean. And I look forward to catching up with the rest on video, May. Please post the video, and I hope you all have a great meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Radha, for your friendly words and for moving us forward. Kent, I hand over to you.
Okay, thank you, Helga. Yeah, first of all, the comment that Radha just made about women's leadership, and Paige alluded to it too, so important, but equally important are men who are willing to share the power with women. And we've heard Radha talk about that. I know that Francisco, as the Peace Secretary, feels the same way. I certainly do. And I know there are a lot of men in Servas who certainly feel that truly, as it's been said, it's not a matter of women's rights. These are human rights, and we want an equal world. CSW, the upcoming conference next month, is the single biggest opportunity globally to work towards equality among men and women and boys and girls. And so it's extremely, extremely important. I'm just going to quickly screen share a few slides that okay, so when we talk about men showing leadership on gender equality, I've been extremely impressed by our UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. And I really encourage you to take a read through the 2 reports that he has prepared to go to CSW next month. Each report is not very long at all. It's only 16 or 18 pages for each report, but they're heartwarming in that they not only lay out the difficulties and the challenges, but also a very clear path forward in terms of what countries and civil society, NGOs, excuse me, around the world need to do in order to make it a more equal world for women and men. So please do take a look at that. I have put the links into the chats for those 2 reports. Not everybody is going to be able to pick that up. So I do want to email those out to all the participants in this Peace Forum this morning or today, so that you'll have an opportunity to access those over the next couple of weeks in the lead up to CSW. When we talk about when we talk about gender equality, we're actually talking about one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that the UN has set for itself over the period of time between 2015 and 2030. So we're just over halfway through that 15-year period of time. You can see gender equality is number 5 out of 17. These are not ranked or rated. All of these 17 goals have equal value, but you can see there's quite a range of things, everything from number 1 being no poverty, 0 hunger, on and on. Some deal with education, some deal with environmental issues, and some deal with human rights in a more general way. We continue in SERVAS to focus on the Sustainable Development Goals. The UN really counts on non-government organizations like SERVAS and many others around the globe to activate their members to support these goals. So we can, SERVAS is invited to attend various conferences and meetings at the UN. And in return, we're expected to take the UN's message back to our members. So we try to do that. We have articles in the SI News Bulletin. We have a section on the SERVAS International website. All of these things to try to talk about what's happening at the UN. Certainly, there are more than just Sustainable Development Goals at the UN. Peace and security is a very, very important aspect of the UN. Human rights is another one, and humanitarian assistance. These are the 4 main activities of the UN. There have been major challenges, though, lately. Armed conflict, obviously, in various parts of the world. We also have issues of climate change. We also have authoritarian governments, and Rada alluded to that, about the pushback against gender equality that's happening in certain parts of the world. In recognition of these challenges, the UN is undertaking something called the Pact for the Future. And this is a document of about 20 pages, which really talks about how the UN can take all of the current agreements and commitments it's made and put them into action far more effectively than they've been able to in the past. So it's really about how UN countries can work more closely together, cooperate more closely together, and so on. You'll be hearing a lot more about the pact this year. It's all leading up to something called the Summit of the Future, which is taking place September 22nd and 23rd at the UN. We've already, through SERVAS, submitted a couple of suggested changes and improvements to the Pact for the Future, this 20-page document, and we look forward to staying engaged on the further development of that document. So my final slide is just to say we do have this connection between SERVAS and the UN. We're proud of it. There's lots of opportunities to promote human rights. We attended the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons, so we're starting to think in terms of that initiative as well. And we really want to invite you to participate. There's lots of room within SERVAS to engage with the UN. We have official representatives. We've got 15 of them in total. But we also can participate in conferences that can involve more people. More SERVAS members can be involved virtually. They don't have to necessarily travel to a UN location. So please do look for these opportunities. We'll keep trying to tell you about them as well. Okay, I'm going to stop there. And thanks very much for your time. And I'll turn it back over to May.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Helga, Paige, and Kent. Wow, very wonderful presentation. Now, can you see my screen?
I don't see it yet.
Now?
Loading.
Can you see my screen now?
No.
No? Oh.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Now we have a small group discussion. So today our topic is the situation of women and poverty in your country. Actually, even just now, Helga mentioned a lot. Women and poverty is because of war. But even without wars, this situation also happened in many places, in many countries. The first socialist to mention this is from America, and she create a new noun, is feminization of poverty, and she found in poor population, they are about 70% are women. Wow. So then people, the socialists in the world found it's not just in America, but it's actually the global situation. It's because the traditional culture, women take care the most work at home, but it's no income if you work at home. So because they have to take care of work at home, take care of kids at home. So they sacrifice themselves. They don't have their own career. But sometimes if they divorce, they have some problem in marriage, now the problem happened. No income, or they have to work, but they don't have much experience because they take care of family. So they actually leave the society, leave the career for a long time. So under this situation, this is why they have a lot of problem in economy. So this is why there are so many women in poor population. So today our topic, and also CSW this year, the topic is women and poverty. So later we can focus on this, what happened in your country. Okay, so you know your small group number, right? So on the bottom, you see the more, then you press it, you will see join break room. So now you can choose your room number, your group number, and join it to discuss. You see it? And if you are group 0, you stay. You stay in the main room. You don't have to move.
Number. But just now, you know, everybody, Sanna Marin was a prime minister and we have 6 women leading the country. But now after that, our right wing was winning the elections. Now we have men leading, but there is also a very like we call true Finns, the really conservative right party women as holding the money backs. But now that's very bad for women and especially those women who have kids at home or those who are unemployed or have mental issues. So they are going now to cut off their social security money so much that it has not happened in Finland before. And they can get little better benefits for the rich people, take away taxes. So that's really now upsetting in Finland people, and there is a big discussions about it. So now it doesn't look so good than people were thinking that Finland was so good in Sanna Marin and women's time. It's immediately if the political power is changing, so it is making a difference. But still, I could say that we have quite a lot of equal rights still, so I can be happy. But I don't want it to be worsened down.
Somebody on iPhone 174. Oh, you're muted though. Can you unmute yourself?
You want iPhone one?
Oh, can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yes.
Hello, I'm
Yeah.
Ralph, living in Italy. I joined the meeting now.
Okay, good. Go ahead. And what's the situation in Italy for women and poverty?
Well, in Italy, a big issue is about women and violence, because there's a lot of violence against women, and now there's a lot of now we have also a woman prime minister. Even if it's a right-hand government, but anyway, it's a big issue. People are very much more sensitive about as they have been before. It is said to be a cultural issue that women are not considered in the same way as men are. Anyway, I agree with this reading of the situation. Anyway, a lot of things are moving, but it's still very difficult because Italy is a very conservative country. Once women in Italy, they always had a strong position, but inside the family, as a mother of the family. Now that women need to work and men and women are living more similar experiences, it's very difficult for many men to accept the new, more powerful role of women. That's why a lot of violence situations happen inside the couple or inside the family. This is very sad, but I'm very optimistic. It will change. It will have to change. But for now, there's a very unsatisfying situation still happening.
Okay, thank you. And sorry, your first name?
Ralph.
Ralph. Okay.
Ralph.
Okay. Thanks, Ralph. Okay.
Thank you.
So, May, you're in on this group. Would you like to comment about Taiwan?
In Taiwan, actually, we have a similar situation, like just like Asia in the world. As what I mentioned just now, because in our culture, traditionally, women housewives, you have to do not just a housewife, wives have to take care almost all work at home. And also, if kids have some problem, mother is the first person to take care of kids. Usually, women have to quit their job after they have kids. So in this situation, if your marriage have some problem, so your income will become a problem, because usually you do work at home, there is no income. And if your husband doesn't understand the situation, So they don't pay much or enough for their wives. So the problem will happen. So this is why the single parent, especially single mother, will they will have the financial problem. But now it's getting better because the global trend mentioned that gender equality. So the young generation, they are smarter than my generation or my mother's generation. They ask to do work. Husbands have to share work at home as well. So women have more time to have their own career. And also our society have better policy for women. They can take care, work at home, and also go to work. They have flexible working time. So it will help the women to keep their career, even they have their own family. So now it's getting better. So I'm
Okay.
wondering, how about in Canada?
Well,
It's,
Canada, okay. Well, Canada, of course, is a huge country in area, but only 40 million people. So a very small population, most of whom are in the large cities of Toronto and Montreal and Vancouver. Poverty in Canada has tended to be quite hidden in the past. Certainly it's existed, but um, uh, where we always noticed poverty was with the Indigenous people in Canada, um, not being treated well by the European arrivals. But what's happening in Canada now, we're having a lot of immigration coming in, and it's become more difficult for people to find housing, and the cost of living has gotten very expensive here in Canada for food and other purchases. So there are more people in poverty in Canada, and it's become more visible. So we do have homeless people in Canada sleeping in tents outside. Very difficult, of course, in much of Canada because of the Canadian winter. And there are only now is the government getting involved in housing, but it's got a lot of catching up to do because for 3 decades, the governments were not involved in building housing. They're starting to now, but a lot of catching up to do. So that's kind of where we're at. It's a bit of an uncertain future. We still want immigration to happen. We are encouraging immigrants to come to Canada, and we're getting a lot of immigration, but we want more to um, the supports need to be strengthened to handle the increase in population. Yeah. So, are we still good for time, or do we keep going for a bit longer, or
Paige, how can we get the recording afterwards?
I guess not? Everybody's coming back.
May, I'm sure May will send it out, right, May?
Yes.
Or
We're all
it's
being brought
available,
back to the main room.
Yes.
and I think it's available on YouTube.
Yes. Now today we have YouTube live. So later you can see the recording on the YouTube channel of SEVAS International. Yeah. Okay.
Was to short the time to discuss in the little groups.
Is it time enough for you to discuss?
Wasn't enough time. Sorry.
Right. Okay.
Hi,
So,
Javier.
any group leader you would like to share what you discussed, you feel that the content of your discussion is very good and you'd like to share with all of us, you are welcome to talk now. Or you have any comments about the meeting, you can write down on the chatting room. And today
And I noticed,
we have a number.
oh, I'm sorry. I noticed Alice raised her hand. If you raise your hand also, that could get you to the front. Thank you, May.
Okay. Today we have
Can
group
I speak
one.
so?
Yes, wait a moment. Today we have a group 1 to group 5 is Spanish groups. And group 6 is young people under 30 years old. It's a youth group. So later I may invite youth group to share what they talk about. So we have, it's Portugal, Alice. Alice, please.
Yes. Yes. Hello, everybody. In my group, we were 4, Angelica from Austria, Ben from Korea, and Danny from Bolivia. And we agreed that the situation of women is quite different from the one from men in all these countries. With some groups, more difficult situations. In Austria and Portugal, these groups are the immigrants, for instance, immigrant women, also families that are women and children alone, no men. So these groups also are in more difficult situations. Also the unemployed women is a special group at risk of poverty. These were some examples. So then we had a lot of explanations from about Bolivia, where women,
I don't
as
see
Danny
May, but are
said,
we
have
having
no
a
voice.
wrap up before we close?
Sorry, Alice.
I don't know if you were listening me.
Yes, we are.
So in Bolivia, just to finish, to give the word to another person. In Bolivia, I think it was a quite difficult, the women are in a quite difficult situation, as Danny explained, that they don't have a voice. Or they don't go to the meetings, they are not allowed to go to the meetings, or if they go there, they cannot vote. Thank you all.
Thank you, Alice. Then we have Claudia from Israel.
Yeah, we were about 5, Teresa from US and Hamza from India and Kim, I don't remember the private name, from Korea. And first I want to tell you what was interesting. It was from Korea. And he said there is no equality gap between women and men in Korea. And I said we would like to hear what other women from Korea think about it.
But, so it's a men. Korean men say there is no problem at all, right?
Yeah. So this was interesting. Otherwise, we saw many things very in common. We talked, all of us, about education at home, at schools, government promoting education for girls, to be more self-assertive, self-confident, and to study more science. So it was, but still, although there are laws for equality in our country, in the US, in all countries, in India, there are still many differences. Maybe we need more generations for education of girls to get, and we think maybe laws are not enough, not enough in order to achieve equality for women. We need more education. That's what I think. Maybe Teresa wants to add, but it's that was what I think we talked. Thank you.
Thank you. And today we have a special group. It's a youth group. It's which is under 30 years old. May I invite Matilda from Netherlands to share what you talk about in your group. Matilda probably is the youngest peace secretary in our Servas community. She is 24. She is a very new peace secretary in Servas.
Yes, hello everyone.
So
I
Matilda,
didn't even know that.
okay. So
Um,
in your group, what do you discuss and something you would like to share with us?
yeah, honestly, we didn't have a lot of time, so it was mostly a getting to know each other. We were a group with mostly youth, so that was really nice to talk with other people. We had Bonnie from Taiwan and Esther from Germany or Italy, and we had sorry for speaking your name weirdly, but from Malawi we had Dayesi, I think, and it was really nice, yeah, talking with other service youth members, because then I don't know, it's just like hearing other people's stories about why they join Servas and what their goals are, or why they have become more proactive and like what they do. Like for example, Esther is part of the organization team of the German youth camp, and it makes me really excited to be a part of those things with like organization, but also with like actually being here. And well, now we were a group with only women as well, which um, I have been more interested in equality, women's rights, and these things. And it made me really happy to hear today that, yeah, more women are taking part in the organization within Service as well. And uh, as a woman from the Netherlands, a tall white woman, I know how privileged I am, and I want to educate myself as much as I can. There are not many youth members in the Netherlands as well, just as lots of countries within Service. And I'm always really open to learning more about topics and yeah, like what our role is within this world and Service, and how I and other people can contribute yeah, within this beautiful organization. So we haven't really, yeah, we didn't go really into depth with how our situation is, but we already exchanged our contacts, and we agreed on the contacting each other as well. So this will definitely not be the last conversation we have.
Okay, thank you, Matilda. Then very welcome to join us. And then we have Javier from Chile.
Hello, May, and hello, everybody. I have a suggestion for young people, especially hearing Matilde. I think we can make some research about families, members of Servas. So, to make a promotion to invite children's and grandchildren's from the members' families to be part of youth. For example, I have the experience the previous year with my grandchildren, with one of my grandchildren in asylum in the States, and was really wonderful. So to have the information about how many families of Servas members have children or grandchildren or relatives, young people, and make some kind of promotion for this type of people, young people, because they are more close from the service experience. It's a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the suggestion. And before we finish today's meeting, I would like to invite our Peace Secretary of Servas International, Francisco, to say some words.
Hi, everybody. Well, first of all, thank you very much for all the speakers for these great presentations. Also, as always, thanks to May and Servas Taiwan for all the technology support that they bring to us. This meeting with friends from different countries, backgrounds, ages, it's really amazing. Being part of Servas should make us feel proud. We are peace builders. We organize this kind of activities in order to know each other. And the most important thing is also to remind us what our mission as an ambassador of peace. Servas, it's a no political and not religious organization that promote peace through dialogue. From the Peace Secretary, we try to promote artistic, cultural, educational, and environmental activities. As we saw today, we have also a great team as a Servas representatives at the UN in Vienna, Geneva, and in New York that participate in events, make statements regarding to topics like migration, human rights, gender. However, we have to mention it is a reality that not everyone feels very well represented by the UN. That's why Servas also participate with other international and local organizations that promote peace from other perspectives and point of views. Finally, I want to mention that this year it's a great opportunity for Servas. It's the 75th anniversary. So we are going to have so many activities like, for example, peace schools around the world, international meetings, youth camps, delegations to the UN, SILE programs, peace forums, a new website, also the version 2 of Servas Online. And in a few weeks, you are going to know and be aware of the information for the Peace Essay competition and also the tree sowing around the world. Let's celebrate together, and thank you very much for your time, your energy, and please be present in your next local Servas meeting and share this experience. Let's see you soon and make something better for Servas. Thank you very much, May.
Wow. Okay, so thank you, Francisco, and thank you for all participants. I hope you also get something today. And so we also thank you for today's volunteers, all the group leaders, and many volunteers here. And so we see you next time. The next Peace Forum will be in May. We will inform everyone as well. So thank you so much. So see you next time. Bye-bye.
Sorry,
Bye-bye.